Welcome to Opinions May Vary this week for the Daily Toreador. I'm Opinions Editor Andrew Gleinser. I'm here with columnist Jacob Reynolds and Logan Lane, and this week we're debating voter ID laws. So Jacob, why don't you start by briefly summarizing your stance in your column?
So basically what I said in my column, Andrew, is that voter ID laws and all the states that have proposed and passed them are a solution to a problem that really doesn't exist. And the way that they go about solving their problem is actually going to disenfranchise millions of voters who would otherwise be eligible to vote.
Okay. Logan?
I would say that the reason that the voter ID laws should exist is because there's not really any reason for a citizen of the United States who plans on voting to not have a photographic ID. There's plenty of options out there for the voters. And so there's not really a reason why they shouldn't have one unless they're trying to intentionally avoid being recognized by the government, or if they are here, illegally or something.
So Jacob, I'm going to ask you a question. Historically, there have been some very famous instances of voter fraud. For example, when Lyndon Johnson was running for U.S. Senate, he had ballot boxes stuffed in South Texas. There have been allegations that John F. Kennedy was a beneficiary of voter fraud in Chicago when he was running for president. So clearly it has been a problem in America in the past. So what would you say to saying, well, now all of a sudden it's just not a problem anymore?
Well, and what I would say to that is that the technology that we use to hold elections these days, as opposed to when John F. Kennedy and LBJ were running for office, has made it to where that's not really a problem. It's much more difficult to impersonate another voter at the ballot box today, just because we have electronic voting. A lot of the registration process is instant and it's digital, so we can't really have paper screw-ups anymore. If that makes sense. I mean, if you just look at the historical statistics from 2000 to 2007, which were all elections that were held with digital ballot boxes, there were only 10 cases out of the millions of votes that were cast during elections within that time period where there was actually documented and convicted voter impersonation at the ballot box.
Now, Logan, to you. Let's say, for example, there's a person who doesn't have a driver's license, and it would be very difficult for them to get some sort of government-issued photo ID because it costs money to do it, and it takes a lot of time to do it. I mean, if you've had to stand in line at the DMV or the courthouse, it takes a lot of time. And for a lot of people, paying that money could be financial hardship for them if they're living paycheck to paycheck, making ends meet. So what would you say to that person who would become disenfranchised by these voter ID laws?
Well, outside of just the driver's license, there are plenty of other state-issued IDs that are allowed to be used when it comes to voting. And I can't speak for other states outside of Texas because I'm not sure about their specific laws, but I know that here in the state of Texas, outside the driver's license, they allow you to use your Texas ID law, or Texas ID, personal ID, concealed handgun license, and if you're in the military, you can use your military ID, a U.S. passport, or a U.S. citizenship certificate. And also here in Texas, we're starting to issue what they're calling the election ID certificate, which is free of charge. Finding a way to the DPS to apply for one and navigating the bureaucratic system is not something that, anybody wants to deal with. But it is issued for free, and it's used for those that want to participate in the vote that don't actually have a driver's license.
That's all for Opinions May Vary this week. Thanks for watching, and please be sure to check back next week.